My brother.
Turn this shit up. I was on the game right now. I'm just turning this shit off right now.
What are you playing?
Rocket League.
That's a fun game.
Yeah. Oh, what's up with you, man? I see you.
What's good, brother? It's been forever.
I know, bro. What, going on 4 years? It feels like way more than that. Hold on, I got my stuff locked. Let me put this to the side. All right, bet. There you go. What's up, man? How's Montana treating you?
Montana's amazing. It's spring up here right now, so everything's blooming. Weather's super nice, no humidity.
Sweet.
Good stuff.
What are you
What's
doing
going on in Springfield?
Shoot, nothing. It's the total opposite. Yeah, it's been raining the past 3 days and everything. And it's been pretty steady and everything like that. I mean, as far as the weather's going now, so it's not too bad. But you know, Springfield is. It's not too. It ain't really much else to do, you know.
But you're doing bobsledding now?
Yeah.
Tell me about that. That's crazy.
For sure. So I started off training or really just training just to keep my mental up after COVID, right? So, you know, I'm still training to, you know, hopefully the pro day is going to come up and this and that, you know, pro days get canceled. Everything is locked down, whatever. So for 2 years, I was really just training, not really knowing if I was going to get a shot or anything, you know. Fast forward to 2022, XFL comes up, and through that, I tried out for through their combine. Their last combine was in Dallas, so I found out like May 24th. Rob actually was the one to send it to me.
No way, Rob.
Yeah.
Shout out to Rob, man.
Yeah, right. Rob's doing good too. He's on a semi-pro team in Tulsa and everything too. But anyway, so I go to the combine. I didn't have film or anything like that, so it was really just me just going in, running, doing whatever they had down there. So I did that, and through my results from the combine is when the director, I guess, what was his title's name? She's pretty much the recruiting director for the Bobsled and Skeleton Federation. Is all skeleton is, which I'm pretty sure you've seen, which is pretty much the guys just by themselves on their chest, head forward down the same sleds, you know. So that's part of the same federation that I'm in right now. So he was a recruiter from them. I guess he knew a guy or whatever. And so he got my results. So within that week, July 24th, I do that. The next week is when I get an email from him, USA, bobsled, whatever, and to try out for them. So I'm like, is this a scam? Like, what do you get? Right. So I tried out there for I had a 3-day camp, 4-day camp. I tried out there, and there were also some other guys too there that also had the same XFL combine thing, but I don't think that we were in the pool for the draft, but I don't think that we had, whether it was film or whatever, as much of a big name brand thing, because I mean once you stop working, or once you stop pretty much being on the team, your clock just runs. All right, so 4 years, it's not really gonna. Usually, it wouldn't happen. But nonetheless, I tried out for them. They have this thing called an ice house, right? And it's this $1 million facility of it, and it's just literally one sled that you push down, and it just goes back and forth like a damn slide, right? And that's where you get your times at for pushing and everything like that. So I get back home after that. They call me again and say, hey, next month we're going to invite you. This is October, mid-October. So now instead of being with just these recruits, I'm also with the actual 1 and 2 team, and we're all pushing. So they're getting times not just for one person, they're getting it for there's usually, they're called push athletes. So there's the pilot or the driver, and then the push athletes are behind them, right? So the push athletes, they all join together and make their times. Who's ever the fastest, that's usually how the federation, signs up and says, hey, these are the guys who's going to be representing America and being on the team and everything. So I got put on the second team after that week in October. So then by Monday I got there. By Friday they said, hey, we're going to put you in a national team and everything like that. So get on it. So from literally, let's say August till October is when I just got on that team, and then by November I'm out in Utah. And then Utah, there's a bobsled track there in Park City.
Okay.
So I was out there. They have these things called a North American Cup, right? The North American Cup is Canada's. They have, I think, 1 or 2 cups up there, or tracks, and then we have our 2. So North American Cup, they have their points and whatever, who gets first place, yada yada yada. So I did the North American Cup, right? That's separate from World Cup. That's where the top guys, that's where you see the pretty much, just everybody's there. That's where all the money and TV is at right there. So I stayed there for, I want to say like first week of November. I'm, doing the races and everything in the NAC, the North American Cup. And then a week passes, and then that's when the World Cup comes in. So it's like night and day. We have like just a few countries in NAC, and then it's like Germany's there. Austria, France, Italy, a bunch of countries just coming in. And then I found out that BMW sponsors like everything, right? Mm-hmm. They sponsor the whole bobsled and skeleton, like I want the cup, the World Cup it is. So everywhere you go, you're just seeing Beamer logos and everything like that, So it was a real big difference from the NAC is kind of like a JVS kind of thing, and then you see like, oh crap, this is where the money's at right here, So after that, we fly out. After that track, that cup, we go to Lake Placid, back home to New York, and then we do that cup. After that, it comes out Christmas, and again, everything's from August to October, right? Everything just gets flip switch. I told them like I can't finish the second half and go overseas because I was gone for like 2.5 months, right, from work, and I'm in sales, so I gotta be there, present. I don't make money if I'm not there, kind of thing. So I didn't finish the second half. They ended up picking somebody else to finish the second half for me. Yeah.
And so this all happened just based on your numbers at the combine for the XFL. Some guy saw that and then wanted you on the squad.
Yeah. So it's funny. It's technically, I'm pretty sure what I'm telling you is illegal for them to have done, because that's what the recruiter, his name's Kurt. I don't even want to say his last name. It's Tomasevich or whatever. He's a gold medalist as well. He was the last gold medalist team for bobsled in 2010, and now he's part of the federation and everything. But I asked him that same question, like, how did you get all this anyway, But he just told me that he knew a guy who knew a guy. I can't really tell you anything else about that, but pretty much he had access to that recruiting pool, and to a select amount of athletes. So
you probably put up crazy numbers at the combine then.
The combine, I don't want to talk too much bad about XFL, but the combine really wasn't that, like, you could tell that it was a money pit. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. The 40-yard dash, you only ran it once.
Oh, really?
Everybody only ran it once. 100%. We didn't even finish some of our ball drills because the guys were just like, everybody up top, they don't even want to see it no more. They're good. Like, because people were dropping all that. It was so unprofessional, man. And I mean, The Rock was there. Like, I think Deion Sanders was there, like, just visiting or something. Like, all the coaches that were the head coaches now. They're all there. So it was kind of like you could just start seeing little holes in it that just wasn't like it just didn't feel like what you thought it'd be, you know. And what they trying to bring up, trying to pretty much make a semi S version of the NFL and be a good affiliate. It was just a money grab. You start putting up the numbers. They're like, it was set up for them to pretty much make $100,000 from each of the at least from each of the athletes when you're enrolled in. So
did you have to pay your way into the combine?
Yeah, you had to pay $250 for each ticket just to be in, an admission fee, and then you get to pay like $200 more or something for you to get pretty much extra data that they had over you. There's this thing, I forget what the company's called. I think it's breakaway data. So I don't know what they have with breakaway data, but I don't know if it's like a startup company or anything, but they pretty much want to have more of a video-esque analysis to the athlete. So they'll record you in almost a 360 camera scope, and then they'll look at your angles, your speed, yada yada yada, to determine, okay, how is this athlete this good or this good. They use more technology, that way they can, I guess, do less. So that's where I think the 40-yard dash only happened once, is because they had all this other breakaway data stuff and everything. They were being a little bit too techy and stuff, but I don't know.
Well, that makes sense that they would pick you out of the group based on that, because I remember you being easily one of the most explosive, athletic people I've ever come across in my whole life. Your vertical is insane.
Yeah, we didn't have to do a vertical. We had to do a broad jump, a triple broad jump. So just boom, boom, boom. It was cool, but again, I think that probably went into it is that explosiveness is really, really big in the sport of bobsledding. Like, the people that you go up against are usually Olympians. Like, even somebody on the team is a silver medalist for the USA. He's for the 200 meter. Back in 2012, he was there. So I mean, you're competing as far as the push athletes go. I mean, you're competing against top guys in summer sports as well. All of it does translate to being just an explosive athlete and dialing everything in at one point. So it's, again, I think that I do kind of evolve around that explosive-esque in sports. So I think I will have a pretty good career in it. I just got to gain that weight, man.
I'm still trying to gain weight?
Dude, yes. I got to gain at least 10, 15 pounds. 10, 15 pounds skinny, with no water kind of thing. Because weight goes into bobsled, the physics and aerodynamics of you being in that sled really comes down to how much you weigh. Speed is one thing, but then you're only in there, you're probably running for 5 seconds. And then once you jump in, you're just holding on, bro. You're just holding on.
That's gonna be so insane if someday. When are the next Olympics?
2026.
Turn on the TV and just see you pushing the bobsled. Wow.
Dude, the hair yeah, bro. Yeah,
that's crazy. Did you ever think that would be your life?
Definitely not. No, but I will tell you this: as soon as I knew, that email isn't a scam, this is legit,
Yeah.
That's when I started realizing, man, there's no money into it, because there isn't in any Olympic sport, it's all sponsorships. But the cool thing about it is, you get to go everywhere,
Yeah.
So versus football, you're kind of just right there in your own state or whatever, or your own nation. But now, next year, if I get on a team, which I hope I do, I'm going to China, France, Italy, Germany, Austria, just, you know, those things you can't really replicate every single year like you would for football, you know? So I don't regret it at all. I love it.
Wow, good for you, man. That's incredible.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it, man. How about yourself, man? You're a lawyer. You're a lawyer and everything.
Yeah, I went to law school after graduation, went
Mm-hmm.
up to Kansas City and lived there for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then after graduation, I spent about a year in Kansas City bouncing in and out of the music scene. I learned how to do audio production and
Okay.
engineering, things like that. And then moved up to Montana, which is kind of out in the mountains where I wanted to be ever since I was a teenager, really.
Right.
And I've just been holding it down out here.
Awesome, man. Awesome, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you do up there though? Like why move over to Montana specifically?
Yeah. So I just got on Indeed one day. I was living in this shitty apartment in Kansas City, and I just literally typed in Montana on Indeed. And one of the first things that came up was a position to manage this newspaper out on this reservation. And I applied for it. And then about a week later, I just packed up everything I own into the back seat of my car and just drove, moved 20 hours away.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome, man.
Yeah. So it was kind of the first thing that I've done in my life. When we moved to Springfield, we already kind of had like our built-in friendship, built-in friend group already there for us. So I felt like that was the first thing that I've done in my life where I had to go and just make a life for myself, not knowing a single person, get out of my comfort zone and just make shit happen. So I think it was really good.
Okay. Yeah. And how long ago was that?
That was last December.
Okay.
So it's been about a year and a half.
Okay. Sweet, man. That's
Yeah,
great.
man.
Yeah, that's a lot more courage than me, man.
No.
No, I
While we're
definitely feel that though, because whenever, for example, whenever I was gone for that duration, let's see, from November till December, you know, it was a lot. It felt kind of like that, you know, like you didn't know anybody, you know, a little bit different because I'm kind of put in to meet these people anyway, you know, but still being in a new experience and not really knowing anybody kind of brings a different character. You could kind of feel building up, you know.
Yeah, for sure. And it's a good thing to do that. Get out of our comfort zone. And it gives all of us an opportunity to reinvent ourselves, I would say.
Mm-hmm. No, 100%, man. Yeah. You so you think about keeping this podcast up and going?
For sure. If anything, just because it's a great way to stay in touch with people. Like if it wasn't for this, haven't gotten to see your face in 4 years, man. That's insane. And we used to hang out literally every single day.
Dude, all the time. It does feel weird. It does feel like there's this I don't know if it was after 2020 or maybe it was just me, but it does feel like there's just been more of a disconnect with everybody. You know, at least that's maybe for me personally, but I feel like, you know, other people might feel the same way.
Yeah. I mean, it was the most isolating time ever.
Right.
What did you do during COVID?
Oh man. I had like I don't know how many different jobs, man. But it was a lot of, I mean, did the DoorDash thing, freaking worked at a warehouse, being a cherry picker, so pretty much picking up just grocery items all the way from freaking sodas to detergent, stacking it up 7 feet high and just wrap around them and put them on 18-wheelers. I did that for like a month. It was probably the worst job I've ever had. I respect all union workers just from that one, because it was terrible, man. Let's see, what else did I do? I ended up, I took my dog out to the park one time, and this lady comes to me from the park, and she said, "Hey, I like your dog and everything," and then asked to like pray for me. And this is why I'm still in Springfield. And this is probably like sometime in May. So what, 2 months into the lockdown and everything. Lady comes in And long story short, I ended up working for her and her husband out in Rogersville, which is middle of nowhere for people who are gonna see this and everything. Out in Rogersville, and I'm just literally digging dirt, picking stuff up. And this is a couple. I mean, she's 69 and he's 80, right? This is kind of this story would get a little interesting too. There's one little fact in there, but so I'm just helping them out and everything. And they were awesome to me. I mean, I had no way to get another job or anything like that. And long and behold, these people kind of just meet me in a park and prays for me. And then like next month, I'm just there working for her. Worked for her for probably like another month before I ended up finding a waiting job. And I waited there for 9 months, switched over, and now I work at a place called Push Pedal Pool where I just sell fitness equipment and make a commission off of that. So funny thing about them is I want to say the guy's name's Larry. He is from, I think, Wyoming. He had a pretty cool life. They came back from Orange County, California, sold a nuclear power plant or something, and just lived in the middle, Rogersville, Missouri, for family and everything. This dude had a grandfather clock because I would eat with them. They would cook food and they had like a garden and everything. This dude had a grandfather clock, and the grandfather clock had a bunch of Masonic symbols on it.
Huh.
Like Freemasonry symbols and everything.
Yeah.
And it was I remember just staring at that clock and it just instantly made me like, I wouldn't say fearful of them, but it was like, okay, grandfather clocks are made, like you don't just buy a grandfather clock or anything. And to see all of like the gold lettering and the 33 and everything like that, like, it was wild. So I haven't heard from them since either. Since I got my new job, I'll like text them and stuff, and they just didn't text me back. They were great. They were great people.
That's cool that she just randomly walked up to you
out of nowhere. I mean, she said she spoke in tongues and stuff. Like she was very, very religious, very religious, very Christian. Yeah, she was, but I needed them at that time, 100%. Like I needed to have a job, and they just came into my life at the time, and they needed me as well because the work that I was doing, digging up dirt and everything like that for them. They're hardworking people, but I needed to help them with a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Isn't it weird how things like that happen? I don't know if you believe in divine timing or fate or anything like that, but sometimes it feels like people are placed into my life for a reason, or I just happen to be at the right time in the right place for some crazy thing that I never would have thought would happen.
100%, yeah. Like I think there is divine design. I definitely think that stuff is almost, not even almost, like really put in place for that change, and then you just have the free will to do what you want with it. I heard a quote before that said, "The past is your destiny. The present, I forget what I think the present is just a gift, and then the future is your free will." So what you don't know, you can choose. You more have an opportunity of what you don't know about. You kind of just manifest it into what you want to do. That's pretty much what bobsledding was for me too. So
it creeps me out to think about my life and how I got to be in this position that I'm in right now as a result of a million tiny little decisions that I made all throughout the course of my life, and it led me to be right here, right now.
So when you did audio engineering, I mean, like that's a big difference from you could go from learning about law to to audio engineering. Why did you make that change?
Man, another crazy story. So I was studying for the bar after I graduated from law school, and that's about a 3-month process. So I was sitting in my dark ass apartment, just in front of a screen, driving myself crazy. And I was in this tumultuous relationship at the time, which ended about a week or two before I was supposed to take the bar.
Okay.
And so my mind was already in kind of a bad spot. And so it gets to be the night before the bar. And I was really trying to make it in music and learn as much as I can about how to be a producer, be an engineer. So it's the night before the exam, and I'm still in Kansas City in the studio at probably 11 or midnight. And the exam is the next morning at 7 or 8 a.m.
Okay.
And it's in Columbia, which is a 3-hour drive or so from Kansas City. Maybe not 3 hours, but I figure I'll just go drive down there, get a hotel and sleep, wake up in the morning, go and take the test, and it'll be fine.
Right.
So I'm driving on the road, get to Columbia at probably 2, 3 in the morning, and there's not a single room anywhere, bro. I went to 7 different hotels, and I don't know if there was some other event going on or if all the other people that were taking the bar just took up all the rooms, but I couldn't find a room at a single hotel. The 7th hotel that I went to, I finally got a spot and got maybe 3 hours of sleep. So I'm already kind of fucked for this exam. I show up and I'm super tired, didn't feel good, not focused. And it's a 2-day exam. The first day is split up into a morning session and an afternoon session. So I'm sitting and I'm in the very back row of a whole, at like a YMCA or a rec center, how it's kind of like 3 gyms all in one building. So it's 3 basketball courts full of people. And I'm sitting in the very back, just looking at everybody. And gosh, I don't know exactly what happened. Maybe it was divine timing or something, but they hand out this packet for the first thing. And I start doing it. Everyone was telling me, oh, it's going to be so hard. You didn't study hard enough for this, blah, blah, blah. And I get through. I have 2 packets on my desk. Sorry if this is hard to follow, but
no, I'm good.
2 packets on my desk, and I'm thinking, okay, first packet, morning session, second packet, afternoon session. Makes sense, right?
Okay. I don't know.
So I get done with the morning session, and I'm like, I did the 1 packet,
right,
writing down all my shit, answering all the questions. Felt like I had a ton of time and that I did super well.
Right.
So that ends, and I go out to lunch, and I'm texting, calling, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to fucking ace this. I can't believe it. It was pretty easy. I had enough time to go back and recheck my answers, blah, blah, blah. I get back from lunch. I ate at Hy-Vee or something. Came back, and both of those packets were gone off my desk.
Oh, my God.
So I was like, wait, what just happened? I thought I was about to do the second packet for the afternoon session. No, it turned out the reason why I thought I did so good during the first morning session is I was supposed to do both of those packets during the morning session, and I only did 1.
Oh, man.
So I ended up failing, not even finishing half the test.
Right.
So I went back to my hotel room and knew that I failed pretty much. I didn't even complete half of the first day. And the second day comes around. I woke up in the morning and I was like, man, I just don't have this in me.
Right.
And so I just stayed in bed, got on Indeed and started looking at jobs and applied for one. And it's the job that I'm still doing today, almost 2 years later. And I just drove back to Kansas City, didn't go to the second day of the test, and thought, fucking, I'm just going to have to figure it out. And luckily it all worked out.
That's dope, man. That's dope. So this company that you work for, like, what is it? Do you pretty much run the whole company, or like what newspaper article, or are you just subject to a certain like part of the newspaper?
No, so I quit the newspaper job about a year ago this time.
Okay.
And I'm for this other company that I got right after I failed the bar. I'm just writing articles for their website, going through, updating it, to 2023, doing all that good stuff. It's not that exciting, but it's keeping me fed. So
no, for sure, man. I definitely feel that, man. It's not exciting to sell a treadmill to somebody at all. You know, I'm telling you, man. It takes my life away. I'm sitting in a store and I'm just clocking in and clocking out. Honestly, some days I'm just really clocking in and clocking out. So I definitely feel it when it comes to jobs. You're just trying to put food on the table, you know.
Yeah.
But doing something that you care about is what I came over the course of really my whole life. I started realizing that, you know, if you don't care about things, it's not going to change. You know, whether you got a job or not, like I mean, unless you love your job, you're there because you love it. But you could just be that one person that just don't care enough to just stay where you're at, you know, the whole time. And I definitely would rather have a job that I care about than versus getting more money for it. So I've been looking at other things to do because half of the year I'll be gone. So if I do keep up this career for bobsled, I mean, I'm gonna have to do something either remote or own a business of my own, because there's no company out there that I can work at where they'll also let me be gone from like November to March.
Right.
So,
man, you're smart. You know how to talk to people. You have so many friends. I feel like you could do anything that you set your mind to.
yeah, I mean, but that's with everybody, man. And I mean, it feels like you have a lot of friends, but I'd say the same for you. It's like, you know, like, I don't really go out. You remember, I never really was a person to go out too much or anything like that. So I do have a lot of friends. We don't really. It's more of the feeling when you have a friend that, say, if I walked into you, you know, out here, you know, it feel like, you know, 2019 was yesterday. Right. You know, it's the same thing with that I got with everybody, but I'm not really as social or anything, you know. I just sit in this room and I play the game half the time. I work out a lot. Like I train a bunch. That's what I do, honestly. I eat, sleep, I train, and I look up conspiracy theories. I swear, dude.
What conspiracy theories are you into right now? Or what are you researching?
There's this guy, Jordan Maxwell. He used to be like a mathematician and a physicist. He ended up dying last year. But this dude pretty much goes into how in law, and you might be able to answer some of this, but in the law of the land and the law of water are two different things. And the law in courts right now are maritime law. So a lot of the times, like, words that are in place for you don't always pertain to you, you know. And he starts talking about and you as in like the entity of your, like, the spirit versus the body kind of thing. So he kind of starts exploiting a bunch of terminology and everything, and says that within language is pretty much a lot of double meanings with things. Mentions that money is water. Starts using words like cash flow. A bank was the side of a river is a bank. That's where banks come from. Or the currency, the current and sea, having pretty much aligning money to pretty much meaning water the whole time. And it's a bunch of all the way down to like your birth certificate actually being like a number in the New York Stock Exchange, and saying that you're pretty much stock from birth and everything like that. Like, it's just, it gets deep. It gets super deep, man. But yeah, that's one. And then a lot of other things just kind of deal with gods before, you know, there's Christ. We know that, you know, Christ has a lot of relations to like Horus, an Egyptian god, and everything like that. I've been getting deeper into those kind of things. So learning a lot about ancients and what they used to do. It's been the past couple of weeks, right? I've been kind of just like almost depressing because the things out the things I'm like learning about is, man, this stuff is like right in my face, but it just seems like there's almost like if everything is true, it just makes you feel kind of bad, you know. Like if everything is just, you know, people or products, and the United States is like a corporation, and like a bunch. I mean, Jordan Maxwell is his name. He has a bunch of long lectures, and it's just it's a good read. He's a good read for sure.
We are products because we have to pay taxes for every dollar that we make.
Exactly. Yeah, and even going into taxes, how they say the IRS is really, or the Federal Reserve is really fraudulent, you know, and I don't know. It really just wraps my head around a weird way, but yeah, there's a difference with product, man, because the people who, and this again part of the conspiracy, but people who like know the law don't consider themselves as these products or even people. So getting into English language, a noun is a person, place, or thing, but that's separate from being a being, you know, being a self with a spirit. Those are two different things. So whenever you call yourself a person, or you say that you're from a certain state or a corporation, then you are a product. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
that makes sense.
I'm from Louisiana. I was born in Louisiana. I'm from Oklahoma, you know, and I live in Missouri. Saying you live in Missouri versus saying you live at Missouri are two different things. Because saying that you live in Missouri means that you are part of what's within. So you are the product of the state of Missouri, kind of thing. And it's just, and all of this stuff is put in law for a reason, for you to be that product for other people to make money off of you on. It's wild. I could go on to, we can make this a conspiracy podcast. I just start learning a bunch of stuff with you. I'm telling you, because that's something it keeps me.
I'm glad that you brought some of this stuff up, because I don't know if you heard a few months ago, there was a shitload of alien stuff going on up here, or UFOs. The government shot something down over Montana airspace. I live right next to an airport, and they shut the whole thing down.
Damn.
Shot another UFO down in Canada not far away. So I was wondering what your take is on life in outer space or extraterrestrials.
I think, for one, again, going into words, the first term of an alien always meant somebody else from a different land.
Yeah.
Or somebody else just from a different nation, alien nation. So I do feel like things, I'm a little bit skeptic about things from outer space, because really kind of going back into word choice, I always think about what do people really mean, you know? So, for example, space was also another term for the ocean, like the void in space, like the all knowing what you don't know. Like back in the day, that used to be what the water is, what the sea is, because you don't know what you're seeing down below, kind of thing, you know? For the spaceships and everything, I do feel like it could be possible that there's technology like 25 years from now that we're only going to be able to experience whenever we're in our 40s. So I don't know. I think it could be like if it was shot down, for example, when you hear a missile, like being so close to Montana, when you hear something get shot down, you know, like or was like, what was the thing that happened? You know, some of those things just kind of get me skeptic, because, for example, the same people that are bringing out the news, I bet you they know the real answer. You know, like the people who are putting it on the news, I never even seen it or heard about it. But I think the people that put things out there, they know a different truth than what they're telling you. So you get some of it, but you don't get all of it. Like, yes, a UFO, but is it unidentified because you're not telling me?
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
like, because if you identify it and you say it's unidentified, that's two different things right there. Like, if you know where this is coming from, or somebody does, but somebody else that they do know, or there's somebody else is telling us, you know, hey, this is an unidentified object. There's no lie into it if somebody else doesn't know and is telling you that it's unidentified, right? So, spaceships and everything, I don't know. I've been again with the conspiracy. I've been hearing a lot about the whole, like, is the moon landing real, or why haven't we gone back since then? It just makes it seem like there's nothing that's, you know, that is real.
Mm.
You know, so or it is real, meaning like, yeah, it's there, but in our interpretation, we think it's, you know, somebody from Mars that came over or whatever. Like, could it be somebody from Mars, or could it be something, you know, that's already here? Because remember, another thing I do know about the UFOs and everything is that the same spacecraft doesn't just go in the air; it also can go underwater. You know, you've heard of one of those, right? So just think about everything that we don't know about what's underwater.
Yeah.
And then it goes back to learning about the law of water. Again, like, why are we under a maritime law in court? You know, there's two different laws, and there's law of the land, and then there's law of water, which is what all the court system goes to, you know? And I don't know, the fact that we've been on this earth for 20 some odd years, and the oceans are still 80% undiscovered and shit.
Yeah.
When is people going to discover? Like, hurry up, make it 50%. You know, like, I just think that there's something else that's already here that we don't know about.
Mm. I was listening to some science guy talk about going out into the Atlantic Ocean and just getting a cup, dumping it in there, bringing it back to a lab, and they discovered, I don't know, 30 different bacterias that no one had ever heard of just from scooping one thing of water from the ocean. So I could definitely see, who knows what actually is underneath the ocean.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing I feel like, I mean, the weirdest part of it is having like all these rockets come up, all these tests and everything, but we still 80% of the ocean, or whatever the percentage is just unsolved. It's like, then why are we trying to go to space? Like, why are we trying to go to space for any other reason? Like, what is the reason to even build a rocket? You know?
I don't know. Some people think that Earth is going to collapse, that we won't be able to live here for much longer.
Well, I tell you this, that we're all doomed. That's definitely not a reason to put a rocket in space. Because what are you going to do when you get to space?
I don't know. Struggle and probably die even faster.
Oh man, I don't know about that one either. You know, let's see. What do you think about aliens?
It's tough because it's just a guess, and I don't know shit. But if the universe is as big as we think it is, which is theoretically infinite,
Mm-hmm.
then why would there not be? And some people even think that there's alternate universes or realities where you and I are having this conversation in some other universe or reality, and somebody walks in through the door behind you in a clown costume. Like, literally every single thing that could possibly happen is happening all at once in infinite different universes. So I guess to answer your question, yeah, there probably is life.
No, I think I think there is, or at least I want to think that there is, you know. But the more I get down to it, I'm like, these, like, beings, I feel like they're either here and they're always suppressed, and if they're here already, then I don't see why they'd be going back and forth, you know. And then some of those things just, you know, it's out of my scope, man. It's out of my scope.
Well, it raises two questions for me. One, well, I guess two possibilities. One is that we are just basically little ants that are meaningless in the big scale of the universe.
Mhm.
Or two, that we are actually it, that we're the most advanced, smartest, most capable beings in the entire universe. And I actually don't know which one I would prefer more. Because if we're it, if we're everything,
Mhm.
all of evolution, all of life led up to me and you being as
Mhm.
smart as we are, able to have this conversation. There's sometimes where I don't feel like it, like
Mhm.
all of however old the universe is, 7 billion years, and it's just us talking on a laptop. Okay.
Right. Exactly. I think it's funny too that so again, like you said, we could be either or. But if we were the people to know, think about a person who knows for a fact exactly what they are, or exactly them being that like perfect being that was created and everything like that. It could be possible that those are the same top 1%ers that just know everything, and they choose not to tell the mass of people. Because if you don't, or if you do tell everybody, like if everybody did believe that thing, that they were like, oh crap, I am that God, that existence, or God made me in his image because he is me and we all are that, then there would be no like hierarchies. There wouldn't be
Right.
a reason to look at a person and be like, oh yeah, that's the king of us, yeah. Or
Mhm.
that's the president, there would be, everybody is equal and everybody does have unity and we all join together because we all are that same being. That's one thing I do feel like is weird. It's like if we all think that we are that one being, or we all think we are higher than everything else, then we have no reason to say somebody else is higher than us. And so we don't need to feel like we need to submit to anything. So,
Right.
a part of that makes me feel like top people use those things to make for that reason. Because if you submit to me and I have more power, I mean, like who doesn't love more power?
Yeah. Yeah, I see exactly what you're saying. The people who gain from having the system or their lives the way that it is, they have a vested interest in it staying that way.
Right.
So if, for example, everyone were to keep in their minds 24/7 that we are spirit, or we are the most powerful forces in the universe, or we are all equal, you're right. It would topple all of society that has been built up to this point.
A funny thing is, I heard you say that like you mentioned spirit, like if we are spirit. Like the thing is, that is one of the fundamental elements of the universe, next to water, fire, earth, and air, is the spirit. It's like the fifth. Whenever they have, because numerology and shapes and everything, they all have like allegories. Every story pretty much does. So everything has some double, triple entendre meaning, and that one of the elements of the, at least for what ancients believe, was the spirit being just a fundamental part of the universe. And that is what I feel like is a little bit taken off, as far as for what one person knows that they are, like, that there's water and there's earth and everything like that. But there's still this disconnect of which God is real or which spirit is this and that, and people telling each other this one's wrong. That's where I feel like we have that trouble with
I think
everything.
that's our Western society and our culture. Because
Mm-hmm.
think about what we were taught, even as kids, the scientific method, that if something is real or factual or true, it has to be able to be proven through science. It has to be able to be replicated. And that if it's not this, then it's that, either true or false. There's no wiggle room in between for something that you can't actually prove and get in the material world, if that
Right.
makes any sense.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, and a lot of, I mean, shoot, almost every scientific discovery or whatever that we come up with seems to be theorized. So it doesn't even really come up from a truth. It comes from an accepted truth. That's one of the biggest things about science or the whatever. And people want to say more of that science is starting to be more of a religion. Because, for example, during COVID, we were all upheld for the scientists, and the scientists were the ones that needed to tell us what to do. What's the best advice that we got? We all ran to scientists, you know, and it's just, and I mean, and of course now we're seeing it. Okay, sometimes the science ain't always right, you know. That was like a proven factor right there. So a lot of things that, you know, we learn about, we accept because we just accept the theory for it. Like we accept the theory for. Yeah, I mean, I think evolution, it makes sense to me 100%, but how long is it? Wait, when is it going to be law? You know, it's just a theory. Everything here has just been a theory. You know, even going to Einstein, you know, everything has just been theorized, and we come up with more and more, but yet there's no law. You know, that one thing just tricks me out. You know, I don't really know what to come up with it. You know.
Well, I think we just have to grasp at straws for everything, because we have such a weird existence that we just wake up one day and we don't know what we are, how we got here, why we're here, what we're supposed to do while we're here. Oh, and not to mention that this all goes by like that and it dies and then it's over. Right. What happens next? We live in this reality that we just cannot understand with our brains.
Mm-hmm.
So it's confusing, and it leads to all these weird questions and theories and general confusion among people.
Right. Exactly. The confusion. The confusion. I think that is not a coincidence for everybody to feel that exact same way.
What do you mean?
Like, you can probably go on, you know, you can probably have the same, like, for whatever the next guest will be, you can have the same argument with that person, and they'll probably agree with you and say, yeah, man, things are being, you know, it's crazy. We can't really comprehend. There is a bunch of I don't knows. Well, I mean, I feel like it's just weird that the masses don't have that answer, you know? Because, again, if we were to believe the same thing, like, you know, parts of our lives are made by design, you know, if we were to say and know that to be a fact, then it shouldn't be by design that there are things that we don't know, you know, or at least things that we can't at least have the problem here first and then find the answer later, you know. That I think things are made to be confusing for sure, you know, because a good part of the whole conspiracy thing that I've been going into and it's just broad. But I've always been a very detailed person when it comes to how people speak. And I was just taught that way. My mom she was English major. And I mean, ever since growing up, I had to be really good at spelling. So she like put me into there. So I just behave that way to where I just listen to how people speak and what words do they choose, you know? And there's a legit science when it comes to language. It literally goes down. There's even I want to say Hebrew is not just a language. It's either Hebrew or Arabic, and there's probably other languages too that also have a numeral tie with the letters that they use. You know, so like numbers actually make words and vice versa. You know, and I don't know why we don't learn about this stuff when we're yay high, but we're learning it now, and now it just doesn't even make sense. You know, it feels like math could have been easier, but the way that we're taught math makes it seem kind of confusing to the mind, you know, but yet their numbers are like the most fundamental part of the universe. Like you could go anywhere and numbers will be numbers, you know, just like us being created in a certain way, numbers were created in a certain way. You know, I just don't, I don't get why we'll be so confused with things that are fundamental. You know, it's already there. It's already made for you to understand. Just like in practice, they call it fundamentals, you know, like, hey, fun, you know, whatever. But those were things that we had to do because no matter what, you're always going to have to learn how to tackle in football. It's that you could go anywhere and it's the same it's the same practicing. It's the same exact way to grab and tackle a person. You know, there's a way to do so. That's why I think there's something different with language. And primarily, I think there's a reason why there is so many different languages, just as there's different techniques to add up numbers, you know. And I think it's coming. I think over the years, we're going to find that a lot of truths aren't truths.
It's funny you bring up the Hebrew language, and I got into that stuff too not too long ago. Like their number 7, it meant 7, but also it symbolized completeness, wholeness. And so you think about that. Why do we have 7 days in a week? Like a lot of things are based around these kind of principles. And if you follow Christianity or believe in what that teaches, God created the world in 7 days, there is a lot to unravel. And you're right. We don't learn things like that. You have to go see it out for yourself.
It's either 7 or he created it in 6 days and rested on the 7th.
Yeah. So the 7 means like completeness, wholeness. It's done.
No, I definitely get that. And also, I mean, 7 has to mean something. There's the gambling, for example. You go ahead and hit that slot. If you get your 3 7s, you hit jackpot.
Right.
You know? I think that those symbols and numbers, they mean something. They literally mean something. Even when you go in the cherry, there is, I forget, there's symbolism within for a cherry tree. A cherry is also part of, in a casino, one of those symbols you always see. Why would they pick 2 cherries out of all things? Those have legitimate symbols. They literally mean something, and is deep and embedded. But you're not gonna like find oh yeah, this is actually an occult symbol for something different. Yeah. You know, occult doesn't mean bad. It just means hidden. It literally means just hidden. And then there's just a bunch of hidden symbols. I've been so infatuated with that stuff, bro. Like just a bunch of symbols. Days have been on days for sure. Like all of the days they are inspired by planets all the way to Sunday. Or Monday's the moon. I forget I think Tuesday's Mars or something like that. Wednesday's Venus, something like that. Saturday is Saturn right there. And Saturn is actually in comparison with like a bunch of stuff. Like, and I'm going down, I'm pretty sure Saturn has 7 rings. So you get a lot of numerology with that as well. There's this event in the Roman calendar. It was called Saturnalia. Saturnalia is celebrated on December 25th, just like Christmas is. It's the same. It's almost like it's the exact same thing. Then Saturn has what? Rings, right? They would call Saturn, or like they call planets, lords. That's where you get Lord of the Rings from. Because that's what they used to call it. They used to call Saturn Lord of the Rings. They had, because Lord also meant owner, you know. So then there's what else was I thinking about? Oh yeah, that's why we have wedding rings. Is to Saturn. Back in the day, like Saturn was that god. He was that god. Saturn, I believe, is also like the 7th planet. Back in the day, before you can like see the other planet, Uranus and Neptune, which by the way, nobody knew what the fuck Uranus was until like the 80s. They didn't visually see like Uranus and Neptune until like the 80s or something. You know, like they didn't have all this stuff for whatever reason. And so for Saturn, earrings, you know, anything with a ring, the crown that's on a king's head is a ring. Why is it in the form of a ring? It all had to do with Saturn.
Mm.
And oh man, is that wild though? It's like it's so freaking. It comes into a point to where it just doesn't seem like it's a coincidence anymore. You know, a lot of I'm in a lot of buildings and monuments and everything. They're all placed there for a reason. You know, that the Pentagon. Why is it shaped? Why is it shaped in a pentagon? Like, is that what it's called, the Pentagon, or the shape? Is it also called the Pentagon?
Yeah.
It is called that. Yeah. Like, why? Like, I don't. Why are you shaping things like that? It just.
Well, I know that Tesla believed that numbers and shapes had some sort of inherent power to them. Like the Egyptians made the pyramids because you could somehow attract energy or power or some shit through mathematical principles and shapes. Like it has an energy to it.
No, 100%. And magnetism was a big thing. He was known for pretty much exposing free energy. You can go on CIA's website right now and look up like ways to make up free energy. I'm pretty sure you probably can't just type that up, but you definitely can't. Undeclassified documents from the CIA like can show you how to make free energy. There's this guy on social media that I watched. And he's making these like coils and using a bunch of like copper wires and magnets to make these weird looking devices. Like you ever been to like a children's museum and you see that little ball that you'll touch it and it'll make your hair stand up. It looks like electricity. Yeah, like that right there is a source of free energy that you can make at home. Like they're like, what is that thing that you're looking at? And why haven't I been taught that? But I go to a museum and that is just like a fun ball to just touch. Like, no, that's part of one of Tesla's like, discoveries for a reason, like there's a reason why we're paying monthly for energy.
I've been having this idea, and while we're on this topic of energy, of our brains being kind of like antennas or receptors for something. And it makes me wonder how connected we are to each other. Is there some dimension or layer that we can't actually see or have access to with just our five senses, but that we're connected on a higher plane and we can transmit things through that layer, or that there are beings on a higher dimension that are impacting our lives or exist that we, like I said, don't have access to?
No, I mean, I definitely, that sounds right to me. I wouldn't steer away from that at all. Because again, there's this what you feel and what I feel like they're pretty close. I almost think that like some thoughts that I have in my mind, they're like I didn't make it up.
Yeah.
It's not like something I just made. Like, it was already there. Kind of like a good analogy to it would be, there's like the apple is like the mind, and making a bad comparison with that, but the apple being the mind is the essence of everything, and apple pie is just something that man makes, kind of thing. I definitely feel like there's there's something in us that we don't know, or we're just again not being told for it.
Well, you're on the right track with thoughts. I had even one this morning, just walking, and it happens whenever I do take a moment to take the headphones out or turn off the TV or turn off my phone. Like when we stop becoming so distracted, the thoughts are just coming in. If you meditate, especially too, like there's a lot of shit that gets rolled around in there. And I feel like our society and the way our modern lives are, we're so busy, we're so preoccupied that we're not meant to get in touch with ourselves like that. It's getting harder and harder to do.
Yeah. I think, and it's funny that somebody like yourself would would have these kind of thoughts, because people like who are interested in things like music, ultimately, like law obviously wasn't the stuff that you're into, and like music is inherently something that is more spiritual than anything else. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's all frequencies, it's all sound waves, you know. And I'm pretty sure you tell me a bunch of stuff about audio engineering, but even with that, there was a part of mysticism and magic that was placed into it, as far as instruments being made. I mean, rituals all include music. Why is that? You know, I think it's people that have that just, I guess, that edge. They're kind of different from people who are just pencil pushers.
Mhm.
You know, I think those people are the ones that kind of, you know, they're kind of almost inevitably going to be distracted. You know, but somebody that kind of just like almost by design, like you probably always have been intrigued in how things moved you, which is what music is, pretty much. You know, uh, the arts is a crazy thing, for sure. I think ultimately too, part of the distraction is the elimination of art. I think that's what top people are doing right now, because there are computers, and I do like the fact that you can make a quick beat off a computer. It is substantially different from playing an instrument, though, you know. And conversely, or even visual art, you know, like AI is destroying a regular artist, because AI could just create art anyway, right? So then you start getting into the fact that hold on, looks like somebody call. I'm just decline that. I don't know who's calling, but where is it going on? But visual art, yeah, being it. I think I watched something on the news about um they're going to there may not be an art boom or something now, and I don't even understand it. But I feel like if we lose something like that, if we lose something like the the want to create, which is really coming into music or coming into art, I think we're going to end up losing something.
Mhm. Yeah, we'll lose exactly what it means to be human.
Mm. You know, those are the two things that seem like that. You know, only what else can create? You know, there's nothing can create music other than human. You know, and as far as what art is, that's as human as you can make it. You know, so because that is all creation. Art is all creation. And I hope that stuff doesn't go away.
We'll see. I think people are just going to use AI to make music, make art, and do it a lot faster. And it'll just be different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think I heard Spotify makes a makes a whole playlist for you. So like if you had Spotify for a long time, they can have like a DJ on there that's literally speaking to you, saying, "Hey man, we're gonna go ahead and put stuff back to 2017. These are your favorite songs, and make your favorite songs back then." I think that's just wild. Because if you think it seems cool, but all of that stuff is just going to pertain to the individual, and so you're not going to really know. You're not going to have any advancement for anything different. You know, I don't know. And in the fact that speed, why do we need things to go faster is the thing. Like why do we, or what is this, what is this push for things to be quicker? You know, I don't, I always sit back sometimes and just think about that. It's like, because for example, I'll say I hate my job. I hate it because I don't like sales. I don't like being pushy. I don't like the fact that I got to care about an end of the month quota, you know, because it's inevitable that things are going to come down. There's no plateau, but that's what I keep hearing about all the time, you know, and that's all everybody that I work with. It's like, you know, like, oh, always come up. You know, what is your daily need, man? What's your daily need? It's like, dude, I don't care. It's like I'm not part of it. I'm not part of it, you know. I guess I choose not to be part of it. Not their business, you know.
As far as things just keeping going faster and faster and faster, I don't know if we even have a choice in it. We already talked about evolution, but if evolution is real, if that's actually how we became to be Darius and Ty, that we were once primates living up in the trees, and eventually we wandered out into the savannah and figured out how to cook meat, however evolution happened, why would it just stop with us? Wouldn't it continue to go on, and maybe eventually humans turn into AI, or we turn into something that exists in the cloud, or I don't know.
I don't know. I hope not. I hope we don't just throw up in the cloud or anything, because the only thing is that's a transition from man to machine. You know, like and that's like the ape didn't create man, right? Like if everything was true, then that's when evolution does come in. But when we go, we'd have to be a whole different being ourselves, right? Like we have to be that whole different thing. And that's the only disconnect I have. Like if evolution is real, like you say it is, then we should be able to see a lot of these changes. You know, at least not the bottom, you know, but maybe maybe we are growing into this essence of something different, but you know, does it come into a physical characteristic at all? Kind of like what you're saying, could it be something that's just innate? Could it be the part of the mind and the inside? Could we just be an antenna that's just kind of waiting to pick up this other signal to be higher than what we were, you know?
Yeah, I think because this holds us back. We die, we get older, we get diseased. I think if anything like that were to happen, it would be somebody figures out a way that we upload our consciousness somehow to something that is just a giant ass computer or something, and we all just kind of bounce around and interact somehow within that outside of our bodies. But I'm with you. I hope that doesn't happen, because I'm a believer that death is, we're alive and then die and then it becomes new life again. I believe that it's just a circle that continues and goes and goes and goes forever and ever and ever.
I definitely think that again, the spirit right there is real. So whenever and I've heard this with a couple of people that have like loved ones that went to a funeral. I say I know a couple of people, but really I watched like a video of somebody talking about a loved one that's in a funeral, and they said something like, you almost can tell that person that you knew is not there.
For sure.
So meaning that like I can kind of still feel that person around, but this is just the body. It's just the encasing of the spirit, right? But the spirit is what is. You know, the spirit is whatever that comes out, and maybe, you know, kind of like you're saying, if you're not able to really know whatever is the secret here, or the reason for being here, or maybe the reason to leave here, then you will be in the cycle where you do come back and you got to freaking, you know, kind of like, you know, playing GTA when you died and you got to restart the mission again or something, you know. It's like, hey, that's what I think it's like, you know, because the only reason why I would hope I'm not in a computer and we're not all talking is because, just like going back to GTA, after you finish the game, you just want to turn it off.
Yeah.
You finish the game and make all the money that you want. You just end up driving, wanting to run over people. Getting, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like it's gonna end up being a point where like, all right, like I'm bored. I'm not interested in this no more. You know, and I think that might be that time. You know, integrating into machine I fear that would be it. You know, for the mind, it's like we know a bunch, but I don't. It's just speed. That's the only thing that seems like the catch for you to want to do it is the fact that you can get things like this. So like, I don't care. I could take my time. You know, like I don't get why it's just so enticing for things to just happen faster. Well, I say that and then I freaking buy DoorDash or something, you know. But yeah, man, I don't know. I don't know. I'd be interested into going in there though. If I could come out of the computer and everything, I probably would do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it would be cool if you plug something into the back of your head, your eyes roll back, and then you're LeBron James and you're in Game 7 or something. At that point, it would be amazing. Yeah, or if you could fly, or you can travel back in time and it looks like you are in the Civil War or something like that, that's when it would be amazing. And that, I think, is when... Have you seen that episode of Black Mirror where the guy's just riding on a bike and he's like, all these people are just powering whatever the fuck it is? I would see something like that happening where all of our jobs are like, okay, you come out of the matrix or the computer for 4 hours or whatever, and you just ride your bike or run or something to power it up, so then you can just go right back into it.
Damn, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. That'd be scary though. That'd be super scary though. But
or like that's what the slaves do, that like run the AI or the matrix or whatever. It's just people at the bottom riding bikes to create enough electricity to power all of it.
Oh man, I don't know. I'd hope not.
Well, what if it becomes that the super rich people get to live in this existence, and if you don't have enough money, you have to just live in the shithole world where all the resources are gone?
I got a question. Do you think that part of that is already now?
What do you mean?
Well, I give you a prime example. Monaco, isn't that's like its own kind of a country almost, really. You have to have money to be in Monaco. Otherwise, you physically can't even have a hotel to rent at because you won't be able to afford it, right? So, like, that's one place I'm speaking on. But how many places are just like that, to where it's like you don't even have the pocket to be here? Like, you literally it's like you could come here and walk around, but you can't even afford to walk in and stay one night. You know?
Yeah, I mean, if you have a $30 million penthouse in New York City, you might as well be living in virtual reality or a different life compared to somebody who's in Mexico and they're plowing a field or whatever for a couple dollars. Right.
It's just not this. As far I'm saying, like, well, with money comes access. Like, for example, I know for a fact that unless I have $30 million, my ass is not going up there to see. Nobody's going to have me come up there and see this real estate at all. You know, it almost seems like that is what it is, but we don't say that. We don't say that. You know, I feel like for some reason we don't want to say that we can't do something, or we don't want to look at that in that lens of things that we literally won't ever be able to do. You know, let's see another. This is a side note, but it kind of relates to elites. There's a guy. He is like one of the owners of this thing called Oracle, which I think is like a cloud computing software. The same guy, he also owns like a stake in Tesla. This dude also owns 94% of an island in Hawaii.
Yeah.
What? He owns like the production of pineapples, bro.
That's crazy you bring that up. Right before this, I just got on and started Googling who are the richest people in America.
He's like the seventh.
That dude was on there just because I was curious, like, how do you actually become worth $100 billion? And most of them are just people who got into computers and technology right when that boom started happening. Yeah, and now everybody has it.
Right. And it's almost like, again, it's a design thing. It's just weird, man. It's just weird that all of them they all kind of have this little small group of people and do it. I think as well that you could buy an island.
Yeah, right.
You could just straight up buy an island, dude. I mean, I knew you could, but when it came, I didn't know you could buy part of a state legitimately. You know, it it kind of makes me. It kind of made me lean more to thinking, well, maybe the United States, every state is just a corporation, like legitimately just a corporation. And even at counties, there's some counties in certain states that don't apply to federal law. I can't even grasp that. They don't tell you this stuff. But like, I think Brownsville County, Texas, there's some big dude over there, Brownsville County, Texas, that has a bunch of allegations of him like stealing children.
Mm.
And nobody's going to talk about it or anything like that because this dude here just owns the media and everything. But the people around Brownsville, they're hearing and knowing this truth and everything.
I mean, even up here in Montana, I can drive an hour down the road that way, and I'm on the Crow Reservation, and then I actually am. It's a sovereign nation. They're not subject to the United States government. So when I was first moving up here and driving around it, of course, like I'm smoking a joint, just exploring, and I came across a tribal officer in one of the squad cars, and nothing happened, but it just got my mind a little paranoid. Like, I'm in a sovereign nation. It might as well be a foreign nation.
Right.
So if anything was to happen to me, if I got jailed or got in some sort of trouble, I would just be shit out of luck because I'm on their land, their government.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the things that are just kind of printed out for us, they're not what we were brought up for, you know. So meaning like growing up, you could tell now once you're out of school that everything you've been teaching me is not in the same context of how the world is actually working.
Yeah.
You know, like if you were to tell me they make the United States seem as unified as possible, but really is a bunch of kind of regions that are acting the same. And then there's other places that don't even apply to any type of law that you're working with.
Yeah.
I just think there's a lot of reason for that. There's a reason why financial literacy was one semester. And it wasn't like a thing to grow up to learn about money. You know, the things that you were growing up to just have as like electives, and instead of something that you really need to learn, like language, for example. Like, why can't we learn a bunch of different languages? You can only elect these languages once you get into high school. For what though? You know, a lot of things have just been just on my brain, just telling you, bro, just hurting. I'm so glad that we got, or you had asked me to, you know, to talk about it, because to be honest, man, I really just look at it on my own. I don't talk to anybody about it. You know, I talk to my girlfriend a little bit here and there, but she doesn't care about things I say. Now when it comes to this stuff.
Yeah, I don't think women care about it as much. Care about I'm going to be very careful, but you know what I'm saying. You can only have this conversation between two people like us who are exploring the same things, trying to figure it out.
Yeah. No, I definitely get it. My grandfather is really the person I would usually I would talk to like all the time with just with a bunch of theories. We'll just talk about he's very hard Christian, and so we theorize a lot and everything. And I tell him, I mean, like I believe in a universe. I believe in an entity that's greater than myself. And now I'm starting to think that maybe that entity is part of me. So it's like, if I'm saying, you know, I feel like that's the distinction between Christianity and what spirituality is. Religion is spirituality, period. You know, it's like there's a belief and then there's the know. You know, there's two different things. Like if you believe in Christ or in any religion, if you believe in it, then there's just an exemption of of the knowledge right there of what you actually like truly know. You know, like I know this is an apple in my hand, but I believe that God wrote. Those are two different things, you know. And knowing your spirit, knowing that it's there, I feel like getting to that point alleviates all the distractions that we'll have, you know. But yeah, I mean, I love talking about this stuff. We're just learning different, you know, learning new things, man.
Yeah, I'm the same way as you. I was raised Southern Missouri, similar areas where you're at right now. So very Christian, very conservative Baptist kind of upbringing.
Mm-hmm.
And the older I got and the more I learned, the more I tried to just cherry pick and nitpick at these ideas. Like, well, do you know that Jesus, like you said, a lot of these Christian beliefs, if you go back and look at the Egyptians, it's kind of the same thing, or that this idea was taken from this, and this God correlates to this God, and this date correlates to this date. And I've since gone away from that because I think regardless of what you believe, if you're like you and I, and we try to keep an open mind and maybe don't really know, but take an idea from here and here and apply it, or if you're somebody who thinks literally Jesus Christ was a real person, died, and rose again 3 days later, and every single word in the Bible is true, it actually doesn't matter because that's just your scaffolding for understanding or trying to get some sort of idea of this big picture. And what I think is right or what I believe in, even if some other person's is totally crazy sounding, or if they may not have thought it all the way through, it's all the same thing.
100%. There's have you ever gone into the other side of certain religions? I personally, I haven't. What I really mean is like the dark side of religions.
Oh yeah, man. Christianity, Catholicism, all that shit. It's super dark.
Well, I mean like spiritually dark stuff.
Oh, like black magic type stuff?
Like, yeah, like there's a Bible of like that speaks a lot about light and the good and everything. And then there's like another type of Bible that nobody really talks about that deals with all the demons, and you literally learn about all their world and everything like that. I think it's interesting that there's not too much talk about that. Like I haven't really been in, I'm not big into anything like that for sure. But again, if you want to know, you got to know, you know? So I should put that on the shirt, but there's like a bunch of different, like there's literally hierarchies of like even demons, like Lucifer being a freaking, and even just saying it makes you feel weird, but him being a king, and then there's like princes and dukes and like it's a really intricate story, the same way as every other religion would be, you know. So but we get fed a lot more of the light stuff, and nobody really talks about the fact that these are books. There's people that are worshiping this. There's literally like demons and stuff that within the books that tell you how to do things that would make you more money, that would make you have a girl fall in love with you, you know, like just wild stuff that I truly think, you know, people are accustomed to, you know.
For sure.
There was a video I had watched that talked about the music industry back in the 80s.
Yeah.
You know, and how that stuff, how they were using the masters, which is that big it's like a big ass machine that people would use for like the last recording of a tape. And he said what producers or whoever would do is they all hold their hands together and like do these rituals around their song, around whenever the master was being played, kind of thing. And so you got a lot of like one song the dude mentioned was like Hotel California by the Eagles. That's you know, there's hidden occult messages in there that has to do with the devil. It has to do with certain demons. Kiss, I mean, you can't even, Yeah, just look at kid. They pretty much say it. They literally have like interviews of them telling you. And a lot of famous, rock bands back in the day, they're like pretty much telling you exactly what they're using it for. And I mean the influence even comes now. I don't think it's out of the ordinary for like Lil Uzi. We love Lil Uzi, man. But
Yeah.
dude is obviously telling your ass. He's obviously telling everybody that I'm a Satanist, and it's like it is as clear as day, and we just treated, and I feel like the reason why we treat it like he's just kind of staging or it's okay almost is because we don't necessarily know those books that I talked about before, because then you start seeing, oh crap, that symbol means this from this demon, and we don't have that. We only know about the one, we only know about this. Like, for example, I'm pretty sure Lucifer and Satan are not even the same creature or the same whatever, but yeah, there's like a bunch of those things that I went into a damn rabbit hole on, and I only went in like real quick because it's just too much, Another thing I think about is alchemy.
Yeah.
Like alchemy or whatever you call it in chemistry now, like these are things that were or practices that were made thousands of years. The ancient, literally, so in Egyptians were also called or ancient Egypt was also called Kemet, right? I don't know what the abbreviated word for it as far as talking about an individual person from Kemet was, but that's what the term chemistry and alchemy comes from. It literally it means black. It means coming from like dark lands or something like that. But that's what chem comes from in chemistry, chemical or alchemy. It pretty much is saying this style of knowledge came from Egypt, which is why you kind of feel almost that mystical or like magical essence of why Egypt is Egypt. Well, it makes sense now if you understand what alchemy is, or you understand what chemical or chemistry, what the word comes from. Because then it's like, okay, it does target this specialized place that religion and everything else comes from, and these gods come from. But what knowledge did the person who conquered them, because somebody obviously conquered them, like what knowledge did they take in that was alchemy? Because that's what it was, Like I think that there's a bunch of stuff that just opens up like out of the loop, because I'm not saying that, alchemy shouldn't be in school, but why isn't it in school? It's just there's just a lot of things that's built and designed for a reason, and there's a reason why we don't know about a lot of things, magnetism. I've always said this. I don't know if you're still on the team or if you had already left, but I had got interviewed by KY3, I think. It was like after no, it was after one of our team meetings we had. And man, these dudes these dudes kept clowning me on the fact that I said that magnetism isn't. No, you were definitely there. You were definitely there. You weren't there at the interview, but you were definitely there. And bro, these dudes said they're pretty much joking with me because I think Peyton told them that I had believed that there wasn't any gravity or anything like that. You remember this?
No, I remember, yeah.
Yeah. And so I had talked to them, but I mean, I still have a little truth in that. I still kind of believe that because the real reason is like magnetism is the one thing that I can't really make up or think about as far as like a chapter in a book that I've read, in school. But I've heard about gravity like plenty of times. I know they say gravity's law and everything, but what's just weird to me is even gravity, there's certain calculations that don't even apply. And that's not how the universe works. There's not a time where you can have your math not work. That's just, it's fundamental. It's just, it's base. If it's the base of math is the fact that it's going to work, you know? And so when you have things that don't apply, it's like, oh crap, it didn't fit in the box yet. I think that kind of tells you, okay, well then that should be wrong, you know? While magnetism and anything that is, everything's magnet. The reason why you have a shape of a flower in the first place deals with resonance and magnetism, and of course electrons as well and everything. But that's it's fundamental, and you don't know anything about it. It's fundamental to your universe, but the only thing you see is, like, I don't know, the freaking horseshoe looking thing, a little magnet or something on the wall or whatever, you know. North and south poles, same thing with the magnet, exact same thing with the magnet. But that's another one. That's rabbit hole. I'll get it for sure.
Have you heard of the Fibonacci sequence before?
The what?
The Fibonacci sequence. I think that's what it's called.
Mm-hmm. That's like the golden ratio, right?
Yeah, that all these things correspond with each other. I'm gonna have to Google it real quick.
Mm-hmm. I think it's like it almost looks like a seashell. It's like,
yeah, so it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34. And so it's like this list of numbers that the next number is the sum of the number before it, and it just goes on forever.
Okay.
So like, what is that? Math, like we were talking about, is just built into the fundamental principles of the universe, which is super strange.
And it's funny about that, there can be no zero in that, in a Fibonacci sequence, could there? It wouldn't make sense because you can't add up, because if you were to add up 0, you would just get a repeating number the whole time.
Oh, no, it is. It starts with 0, 1. Wait, what?
You see what I'm saying?
I'm not even going to try to figure this out.
Well, I was going into saying that 0 is not a number at all. That's what I really was about to say. That and whenever you see something like 10 or you see 100, you know, that like those numbers don't really apply to something like that, like the Fibonacci sequence, or like a fundamental ratio in the universe, because you can't add with nothing. You know, I think that math goes into like the basics of our math was messed with. So we didn't understand the basics of the universe initially. And I think it goes with the fact that we start off with our addition, our subtraction, and even going down to, like, we're taught that plus or that sign is adding, right? But what the hell do those signs come from? Like, I feel like you like, when you're showing me something, why don't you tell me every single piece? Don't just tell me, oh, this means these two go together and then nothing else. Why do they go to, what is that sign? You know? But definitely for the Fibonacci sequence, it pretty much shows you, it's pretty much proof that there is no 0. There can't be a 0. Everything keeps adding up to each other, you know, because then you're going to end up, as soon as you see a 0 in there, you're just going to get the same number and you're going to keep repeating the whole time. That's why when we divide stuff that aren't whole, it comes into a point where you're just repeating the number, and it's just a whole plane of ding, 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 3, 3, 3s.
I just want to say that if anyone actually listens to this and they've made it this far, their head has to hurt so bad.
I definitely think it would be it'd be nice to do. I want to see you do it all the time, man. Usually, as far as like the algorithm goes, you're not, if you're like getting real big, that probably won't happen for years. But shoot, I think it'd be crazy and pretty cool that, you know, you're seeing you on this podcast and everything, and years go by, the Olympics hit and everything, and you know, and radio, that thing that just hits. Duff radio just hit.
Right, here's what we're gonna do. 2 years from now, or wait, you said 2026? Is that the next Olympics?
Yeah, 3 years for the winter. Yeah.
All right.
2024 is the summer.
3 years from now, where did you say it was? Italy?
Yeah, it's in Italy. It's somewhere in, I forget where.
Let's speak this into existence right now. 3 years from now, you're going to win the gold medal. We'll do an interview right after.
Hell yeah. Hey, I tell you this though. I'm just a propeller, so I have a good feeling in some of the drivers. I definitely want to learn how to drive though. For sure. I want to be able to control my own destiny right there. And if I fail, then I fail. But yeah.
So you're just behind them, pushing them off at the beginning? Is that right?
Yep. So I my position was a brakeman. So that's pretty much like, I mean, at the first 5 seconds up until the very end of the race, like I'm pretty much in control of everything. I'm the cadence. I'm the person that says go. And everybody else on my other sides, they're going, and they all have bars, right? So I'm the only one with handles, with just the handles on the back of the sled, and the handles are kind of like in D-ring shape, right? So I can just grip them like this, kind of. They have those their little bars on the side that they open up. It usually has like a magnet that keeps them down there when we're going, and it's usually like a set, back set ready, and boom. Once I say back set ready is more of a cadence. Back set ready, everybody goes, right? Driver jumps in first, obviously. Then guy on my left usually jumps in. Guy on my right jumps in. I'm last. I jump in. I slam the bars and I just yell down, and everybody goes down, and we just, driver's driving. We're just trying to enjoy the ride. Bad thing about brakeman though is you're getting to work. You're like the back of the bus going 80 miles an hour, or you're like the tail of a fish, pretty much. Like that's literally what it feels like being in there. So I've been beat up, bruised up. No joke. It feels like you played an entire game of football in less than 2 minutes. Damn. Because your adrenaline is pumping. As soon as you step out, you're just like trying to gather everything back, and you can feel your like endorphins go from all the way. Your adrenaline is way up here the whole time, and then as soon as you're done, oh crap, I'm alive. It's good, And then you can just feel like the stress of your mind going all the way up into before you're about to go. I mean, you can see it on everybody. It doesn't matter what country you're from. It doesn't matter how long you've done it. I promise everybody has this face of stress and fear because it's scary as shit, right? And I mean, you go down there, it's usually not even a minute, but man, it feels like it's a lot longer than that, dude. It's a lot. When I first got in there, dude, I went in Park City. And Park City is one of the better. And I say better as in it's not as a violent track. Lake Placid, New York is like the most violent track in the world. So, I mean, every turn, I'm getting smacked. In the back, I'm getting hit side to side. I remember the first thing I said when I got in there, because you experience G-forces, right? You experience about maybe up to like two Mach or something like that. So not like too bad. I'm not talking something like Top Gun, not that thick, but it's definitely enough force to where you're not gonna it forces your body into the sled. Like you're not moving. Like I physically can't move sometimes because my head's trapped down. I remember just saying, what the fuck am I doing? Like just talking to yourself, like what am I doing? What I flew like 500-600 miles out to jump in this damn sled. This is the dumbest thing ever. But as soon as I was done, I loved it. I fell in love with it. It's crazy as hell. It's definitely crazy as experience, for sure.
It sounds like it's perfect for you.
And I love it, dude. I love it for sure. I mean, it's just, there's just really nothing like it that I can compare it to, for real. you know.
And before we jump off here, there's two stories that I remember so clearly of you that I still to this day I think are so funny.
Okay.
Do you remember? I think it was biology. Was that the class that we had together? It was you, me, Clayton Weber, and Rob.
Oh, I don't. Was it bio? Was it in that big the same place we used to have like fall camp?
Yeah.
It might have been. It might have been bio.
Okay. Whatever the class was. Do you remember the teacher was this short redhead lady?
Mm-hmm.
So I remember there was one day, and she was talking about skin or cells or something, and she goes like this, and she's pointing right here, and she goes, "So what is this?" And we were sitting in the front row, and you yell out, "Fat!"
No, I didn't.
I remember this so clearly, and the teacher was like, "No, it's okay, it's okay." But that is not the answer that she was trying to go for. But that's what you yelled out for the whole month.
I didn't remember that at all.
That class was crazy because I remember the days that one of us wouldn't come. We would have those little tests or quizzes or something. We'd try to hand them in, like pass off each other's work as the other person wasn't there, and she just knew instantly about it the whole time.
Yeah, I can't believe I said that shit. That's funny as fuck.
The other thing that I can remember so perfectly in my mind, I have this image. Do you still have the Infinity?
I do.
I can remember you parked outside of the football facility with that orange boot on one of the tires, and you trying to knock that orange boot off of the tire.
Yeah. You know what's funny about that too? I had to talk to like the director of freaking I guess the ticket people, whatever. Meeting with like the head person that was in the same whatever the building's called that has all the food court in it. Upstairs they have like their other department. Okay. And I had to talk to her, and I had to talk to like the head dude of all the campus security. And because when I got that boot, I think I had like over $800 in tickets. So when they came up to me and everything, and they said they want to have a meeting with me to discuss the tickets, and so I'm pretty much like asking them like, well, are you guys going to take off the ticket, or like pretty much asking why am I here, you know, because if you're not going to take off the ticket, I'm just going to have to pay it. And if I'm just going to have to pay it, then isn't that what you want? I literally was talking to him like that, like saying like, well, I know, I told him this, like, I know for a fact that this is the third largest revenue base that Missouri State gets. So if I'm paying for it, then what's the problem? Kind of thing. Because it was so funny. Long story short, they just they pretty much, she asked me a question saying like, do you feel entitled to be parking at these spots? And I'm like, what does entitlement mean? because she asked me, I was like, I feel like I know what it means, but the way she's asking me makes it seem like I should. And she's like, entitlement means like you feel like you should be able to be doing this. And I'm like, well, if you charge me and I'm there already, then yeah, I'm entitled to do it. As soon as I said that, like that same day, I got punished. I had to go to talk to them Steck, and I think he had me do like 6 a.m.s for like the next 3 days, just because I said that. I was like, golly, dude. Oh man, yes, I definitely don't miss that. All those L's we took, but hey, we came out the mud. There's nobody that can say that they've taken more L's than us.
For sure, but it made us so close like that. It was almost like we had to just get really close and joke around to stay mentally sane. So I appreciate it.
Definitely, I like that. I like that. Yo, we definitely should do this again. No joke.
For sure. Yeah, we'll do this again.
For sure. All right, man. Well, hey, thanks for having me on Duff Radio.
Thanks for having, man. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, for sure, man. We'll talk soon, man.
Sounds good. Love you, brother.
Love you, man. Peace.
Peace.